You're listening to AI for SMBs, a dedicated series where we spotlight the transformative power of artificial intelligence for small and medium sized businesses in Canada.
What platforms can do is to, minimize the churn, content providers shifting from platforms. And actually, this idea on the way here is enabling the content creators to monetize their content.
Hello, Canadian entrepreneurs and professionals. Are you looking to understand the real power of AI beyond just the hype? Want to learn how to build long term impact in tech and navigate today's job market? Junior Williams, a leading AI researcher and tech advisor, shares valuable insights. Hi, this is Kripa Anand, and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast. You're listening to AI for SMBs, a dedicated series where we spotlight the transformative power of artificial intelligence for small and medium sized businesses in Canada. In this series, we are diving into how AI is shaping the future of work, redefining productivity, and delivering real ROI for startups and businesses ready to embrace innovation. Joining us today is Junior Williams, a strategic technology advisor and founder of Junior Williams Consulting Inc. Junior also serves as a senior sales architect at Mobia, contributes to global AI and cybersecurity standards development with the Standards Council of Canada, and is an independent AI researcher whose published work includes Defining Williams Law, featured on CBC Radio and in the Financial Post. Junior offers thought leadership on secure system design, ethical AI, and human AI collaboration. So before further ado, let's welcome him. Junior, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Now, Junior, your work touches on a fascinating and increasingly relevant topic: the disconnect between genuine expertise and what often gains traction online. Now, what changes are needed to, better reward and identify true thought leadership, both online and in industry, to ensure, genuine expertise stands out?
It's a great question. So, on the topic of algorithmic innovation, we see this in social media feeds, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube,
Right.
now LinkedIn, even more so, where the social media providers and companies are looking to maximize the time spent on their platforms,
Yeah.
also to maximize the value to their advertising partners.
Mhm.
So, an observation on LinkedIn recently has been that you have to scroll further to see content that resonates
Right.
with the implication that you're seeing more ads,
Right.
and then you'll find something that resonates, and then you might have to scroll even further to find something else that resonates, right? So
Right.
what platforms can do is to minimize the churn of
Mhm.
content providers shifting from platforms.
Mhm.
Is and actually came to this idea on the way here is enabling content creators to
Mhm.
monetize their content, similar to what you see on TikTok and
YouTube, yeah.
on other platforms, right?
Right.
Another approach that these social media companies may want to take is increase the cost for ads on the platform. So instead of tweaking the algorithm to keep people scrolling through content that is less relevant to them,
Right.
hence wasting their time, just charge advertisers more,
Right.
so that you don't have to do these algorithm kind of tricks.
That's a very interesting and powerful point there, Junior. And it's crucial, I think, for our audience to understand how to cut through the digital noise because it's everywhere and identify authentic leadership. Now, bridging the gap between genuine expertise and online recognition is vital for fostering meaningful professional discourse. Now, Junior, let's dive into a core concept that you've developed that challenges conventional thinking about AI performance. Hello, Canadian entrepreneurs and professionals. Are you looking to understand the real power of AI beyond just the hype? Want to learn how to build long-term impact in tech and navigate today's job market? Junior Williams, a leading AI researcher and tech advisor, shares valuable insights. Now, let's continue our conversation with Junior and stay tuned. Your research, has led you to formalize Williams' Law, a concept that redefines how we should think about AI's advancement. So, for all the listeners, go ahead and explain what does this law mean, and why is this a key to future AI innovation?
Absolutely, great question. So first, let me tell you what prompted
Yeah.
writing it. So a few months back, a Chinese quant firm, DeepSeek, released their R1 model.
Mhm.
It's a large language model
Right.
chatbot. It was a game changer in that it led to about $1 trillion of equity being wiped from the stock market. Why? Because big business saw that, where maybe we don't need to invest tens of millions into raw compute.
Right.
If this company was able to do it at a fraction of the cost and then offer it at pennies on the dollar, maybe we should be rethinking.
Mhm.
So this had me thinking, what principles are out there or theories that relate to technological advancement, and maybe they are not relevant in this new age, right? So we have Moore's law,
Right.
which, to paraphrase, roughly states that speed and compute and storage will double roughly every 2 years.
Mhm.
Doesn't really account for the performance jumps with algorithmic innovation. So what do I mean by that? So if you take something like, say, computer vision,
Right.
so the ability of an AI to recognize an object. Well, you can give it a faster processor and it might be able to better recognize that object,
Mhm.
right? But you could also tweak the algorithm on the same hardware platform and be able to even better recognize that object, right? So this is what prompted me. Now, it's a theoretical synthesis paper, right? There was no research there was no experimentation that went into it,
Right.
but the application goes far outside of tech. So even if you were looking at, say, I'm going to give an example of hiring,
Mhm.
right? So you might have positions that have hard and fast requirements about you must have an undergraduate degree. Now, I'm not saying that obviously, surgeons and doctors and dentists, people like that don't need their degrees, but for an entry level position where 99.9% of the degree doesn't relate to,
Mhm.
this would be an example of organizations thinking harder, not
Mhm.
smarter, right? Because they're like saying you need to go through 4 years of undergrad to get
Right.
this entry level position, whereas maybe like they're discounting a large section of the market that that could be tapped. I also see it with newcomers to the country,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Vastly overqualified, and yet they're met with this you don't have Canadian experience, which, by the way, is very unethical for companies to be like that. But that is what I've experienced as a
Right.
cybersecurity professor,
Right.
teaching at Toronto School of Management. A lot of newcomers, they're enrolled in the programs there because they can't get a job with their experience in education. So
That's very fascinating. So, if you were to, put that definition into two sentences, do you have a definition for Williams Law?
yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
So we could roughly paraphrase to say that algorithmic innovation
Mhm.
leads to exponential gains in AI performance. But now, I don't want to speak overly technical to
Mhm.
folks, right? Because I wrote 2 papers. The next paper I wrote was a few months after the first, which is literally called "Think Smarter,
Mhm.
Harder," right? Which even just in the title, actually, the title
It's self-explanatory, right?
is self-explanatory, right? And there's so many applications, but even in an enterprise and or even the small business sector,
Mhm.
right? If you're at a fork in the road in the decision tree, like, do I invest in this hardware right
Right.
now? Actually, you know what? I'll give an enterprise example,
Okay.
right? So you got a $10 million budget,
Right.
right, for hardware and human resources,
Mhm.
right? You should be reconsidering how much of that you want to spend on the hardware,
Mhm.
because a few data scientists could exponentially improve your capabilities with your existing hardware rather than just buying the latest and greatest because you're buying into the marketing hype.
That makes a lot of sense. Junior, challenging, I think, the common narrative and shifting focus to the power of strategic algorithm advancements is the next game changing thing. And congratulations for developing Williams Law. It's a very cool thing as well. So I hope, more and more people they get to know about it. And continuing the conversation, Junior, as AI becomes more integrated, understanding how professionals should, interact with it is also a key point. Now, how can entrepreneurs and, their teams use AI effectively without becoming over reliant, or diminishing their own skills? Or, because people have spent years to develop skills, and now with AI coming into the place, it's just replacing it within seconds. So how do you cope up with that?
That's a great question too. So I think it's a misconception actually. And the reason why I say that is, well, as an AI researcher, I talk to everyone I talk to, and my wife and family, and people think I talk too much about it. But
Right.
from what I noticed is that folks that are using AI, which is, by the way, like increasing every single day, more and more folks are using it. Um, I know I'm not noticing an over reliance. And in terms of like affecting critical thinking, I'm actually seeing it's enhancing people's critical thinking.
Right.
Now, because if you're using AI properly, right, and responsibly, knowing that it can hallucinate, even when you're using the best models and the best prompting techniques, right? It's like, so imagine that, right? So you're doing more work, right? That means you're reading more, right, than writing.
Yes.
Which means, and generally, if you read more than you write, you acquire more knowledge.
Yes, you absorb more information.
You absorb a lot more information.
Yeah.
Also, I've always, like, since the beginning of using generative AI, which is March 2020, every time a new model comes out, my first use for it is I try to think as outside the box as possible. So I'll throw esoteric, questions about, cosmology and the nature of the universe and these type of things, just to, and in interacting with the models in these ways, I find you get a lot of value. I'll give you another, for instance. So Grok 4 was released a couple days ago, and I didn't get much chance to play with it except for on the way here. So I copied and pasted my notes, right? And all the way here, it took me about 30 minutes to drive here. I was having a conversation with Grok where Grok was assuming your role.
Oh, so you were practicing the answers and, practicing the flow of conversation.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was like, I've used a lot of, generative AI, like voice mode.
Right.
And this is really top notch. Like it's almost indistinguishable, and even better because you can cut it off, right? But it doesn't lose its train of thought. Right. And I can even interject things like, I had an example that was in my head. And I was like, I gave it the example of my response, but then I said, could you fact check that for me, right? And it did, and didn't skip a beat. So I'm going to tell you what it was because it actually relates to the question as well. So there was a company sold recently to Wix. It was called Base 44. Right. So Base 44 is a platform, a vibe coding platform for non-technical folks to create applications by just describing them with words. Build me a fitness tracker app. Wow. And it does it, right? So this individual, he built the platform himself. He built the platform leveraging generative AI tools, right? And he built the business up to $200,000 a month revenue. And then he sold it to Wix for $80 million. Oh my God. One person. So when I think, and I look at the walls here and I see pictures of solopreneurs, right? It's indispensable as a tool and as a force multiplier. So I don't think anyone from an individual all the way up to large enterprise should have anything but a we're gonna go all in approach. Right. Be wary, but of course, I find that using it more doesn't lead to over reliance because the more you use it, you'll see the gaps, and then that's where humans will always excel, hopefully, in terms of putting the pieces together.
That is very interesting. I did not know a lot of things that you educated me and our listeners about. All right, it's time for a short break right here, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more insights from Junior Williams on the evolving role of AI and skill development.
Hey, you think you know UPS? Yeah, that's us. Everybody knows that. You know what you didn't know? This. Okay, try to keep up. Ocean, us. Ground, rail, air, so us. Guess who? Us. Customs cleared, borders cleared, done. Us. Still with me? Wait for it. Boom. Us. Intelligent, automated, fulfillment. Us. Yep, healthcare too. Digital your thing? Yeah? Well, book it, ship it, track it. You feeling me yet? Yep. That's all us. That's all UPS.
Welcome back, listeners. Now let's continue our conversation with Junior as we dive into the critical factors of employability in today's fast evolving market. So, on top of your mind, Junior, can you mention any 3 to 5, websites or AI apps that our listeners can use and better their operations?
Absolutely. So first one I'd say, without a doubt, is Perplexity. Please, if you haven't used Perplexity, use Perplexity. What is that? It's a chatbot. A lot more than that. You can think of it as like a chatbot search engine. It came about not too long after ChatGPT launched. When ChatGPT originally launched, it wasn't connected to the internet. So it was prone to hallucinations. So Perplexity solved that problem by grounding all of the responses in actual search results. So you don't have to take it on face value. You can drill down, and then you can even specify the sources, right? So say you only want authoritative sources. So Perplexity is by far the first one I recommend. The second one I'd recommend is ChatGPT. It's the preeminent frontier model. It's been around the longest. It's the most well known. They are rapidly adding features to it. I strongly recommend folks try it out. And I've spoken to a lot of people, and one of the first things if there's any hesitance, I'd be like, well, go to chatgpt.com and say hi, and just go from there. Don't have any preconceptions. Don't
just go with the flow. Right?
Just go with the flow. And I'm pretty confident that you will thank yourself for having gone down that route. Some other tools I can think of to mention: Google Gemini. It's a fantastic model.
Right.
Hesitant to say Grok, but my recent experimentation, I'm maybe inclined to give it an honorable mention.
Wow, Junior, thank you so much for pointing those out and sharing those with our listeners. I'm sure they will be very helpful. Now, finally, let's look at the lessons learned from your extensive career and your contribution to Canada's role in global AI standards. Junior, drawing from over 2 decades in tech, you've seen the industry evolve dramatically, right? So, Junior, with over 2 decades in tech, how can entrepreneurs create long-term impact in a hype-driven industry, and how are you contributing to Canada's role in AI standards through ISO?
So, well, 2 questions. I'll take the latter first. So, in terms of ISO, so I got a message on LinkedIn from someone I can't even remember last year. They were like, "Oh, they're accepting member applications to ISO. I think maybe you should submit an application."
Right.
And so I did, and my contribution thus far has been as an observer. It's a lot to unpack. If you're flipped through an ISO standard, it's dense. I'm there as an observer to, I'm hoping, limit there's a concept called regulatory capture, right? And that's where regulations are written in a way that favors certain interests, right? So that's one of the things I want to be on guard for, especially when we're talking about AI and how new it is, right? So I'm been on the council for less than a year now, and really just in an observation mode. I've contributed comments, oral comments in our meetings, but working myself up to making contributions to the actual standards where I can fit in.
That's a very powerful combination of personal experience and national contribution. And going back to the first question, how exactly do you think entrepreneurs create long-term impact in a hype-driven industry? How do you think the hype part of it affects it?
Yeah, I would say I take that question and flip it on its head and say leverage the hype.
Leverage the hype.
Leverage the hype. Leverage the hype to build robust solutions and products that fit your customers' needs. One of the approaches to AI that I recommend people take is using it for learning, continuous learning. And the next step, because you can use it for content creation, I find, is share what you've learned, right? Because they say if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So then that's one of my I guess, ulterior motives for being a content creator is like, even if there was 0 viewers, I gained something from everything I posted.
Right.
And I've written articles on it about like the concept of vanity metrics, right? And essentially, if I post something and one of the people who views that post, it resonates and it leads to something great, I don't even care if I find out about it. Like, I know it's job done.
Right, of course. Even if it helps one person, right, and you even don't get to know about it, even then, it matters a lot.
Yeah. So back to the question though, like leverage the hype.
Right.
Leverage the hype, but ethically so. Everyone is listening for AI and what can it do for me?
Right.
So figure out what it can do for people, and help people leverage it to enrich their own lives.
That's very wholesome. Junior, your dedication to long-term impact, ethical AI, and advancing Canada's role in global tech standards, it's truly commendable. Before we let you go, if there's one piece of core advice that you have for our listeners today, something that you want them to take away from this entire discussion, what would it be and why?
So, from my research, I've discovered that using AI releases dopamine. And so if you can imagine, before AI, every word you type, you get a little dose of dopamine. Every sentence,
Right.
every paragraph, every article, right? The thing is with generative AI as a force multiplier, you're getting those jolts of dopamine a lot quicker. So, and this is why I find myself in a lot of late night sessions where I go in with one thing in mind,
Right.
and then I branch off on so many different tangents. And so my recommendation to viewers would be to, one of the applications of AI should be to enhance your health, your life. So I take a lot of metrics when I wear my Apple Watch, and then I have conversations with AI about my metrics. Like, what does my sleep patterns tell you about my work-life balance and stress? So is leveraging the technology for your own personal health enrichment, because if you don't have a mind to doing that, you might find it like you're spending more time where it's supposed to be saving you time. Right. So that would be my main message.
That's a very fascinating advice, Junior, because, and even I'll start, talking to AI about my health, because that is something that, I think a lot of the listeners should do as well. But again, thank you so much for being a part of this fantastic episode, and I loved each second of this conversation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
That was an insightful conversation with Junior Williams, strategic technology advisor and founder of Junior Williams Consulting Inc., on understanding Williams' law, navigating employability, and building long-term impact in the tech industry. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. We really appreciate your continued support. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more expert insights and resources that can help your business thrive. Also, you can visit our website, CanadianSME.ca. And lastly, a very special thank you to our podcast partners, RBC, UPS, A1 Global College, ADP, and Google, for their ongoing commitments to empowering SMEs. Until next time, keep innovating and striving for success, and we'll see you in the next episode. Kripa Anand signing off.